All right, what is going on, everyone? Hello and welcome in to the TSF GamePlan show. My name is Safwan Alvi. I will be your host, and I am joined by my partner, my friend. His name is Brandon Lampley, and we are the TriStateFootball.com team. And be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram at TSFootball. Again, that's at TSFootball. You can listen to our coaches' interviews, our players' interviews on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and search TriStateFootball.com. And you can also search for us on Facebook. Again, on the search bar, just type in TriStateFootball.com. Coming in for week 2 of the TSF game plan of the 2025 season, TriStateFootball.com. We're having a lot of fun, Brandon, right? It's celebrating 20 years of Tri-State football, and what a fun and exciting week when it was around the area, right? And there's a lot to talk about. We got some games coming up. We'll very quickly kind of reflect on some other games as well. And then later on, as we close out the show, we'll do some rapid fire picks of some other games going on in the Tri-State area. But just tell me, my man, how did you enjoy week 1? And we're starting to get the ball rolling again.
Had a great week 1, following all the teams coming off the off season. A lot of teams got some big wins, and some teams got to try to get off the snide a little bit and try to get back to it here in week 2. But fabulous way to start the season, and I'm looking forward to some of the same here in week 2.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of games to get to, more ranked games as well. So, Brandon, let's get right into it. Some of the best bets and some of the most interesting games going on this week, starting with a little interstate game, right? We're talking some GCL South and some Northern Kentucky football, 2 top 10 teams, right? The Covington Catholic Colonels coming in at 0-1. They lost week 1 against Ryle. Taking on Elder, they are going to the pit. Elder ranked number 6. They come in at 1-0 as they defeated Mount Zion Prep, which is a school, for those not familiar, from Maryland, right? They dominated that game. So, Brandon, tell me how you feel about this Covcath versus Elder matchup. 2 big, historic, name brand schools, top 10 matchup. What's on your mind with this game?
Big time name brand game here. Coming across the state lines, it's always a big game. When I look at Covcath, I think about Cash Harney. Big week last week in a loss, over 318 all-purpose yards, 3 TDs. That was 173 in the air, 145 rushing. Kind of their do-it-all thing. I think Covcath, they're going to need more from their running back, Dylan Geyser. Was a little bit slowed down last week. They need him to step up. And for Elder, being at home, the home crowd at the pit, they're going to be hyped up. It's all about Cade Nestep at quarterback for them. Great passer, great runner. I expect the Panthers to really come out and, be prepared. I would hate to say this early, but they're one of my dark horse teams early on. So if I had to choose, I think I'd take Elder at home. Covcath, maybe starting off 0-2.
Yeah, it's really tough to see Covcath last week because their calling card for so many years, right, has been the defense, right? Covcath has always been a very stout defensive team. They allowed 270 rushing yards in week 1's loss against Ryle, right? That is their second consecutive defeat, opening game, I should say, to Ryle, and that's not Covcath. Right, Covcaths pride themselves on defense. They have to get the running game or stopping the running game going. And Elder was the complete opposite, right? Elder allowed -4 total yards, right? We're talking -20 rushing yards. In totality, they held Mount Zion to -4 yards. And this is going to have to be a defensive game, right? If Covcath wants to go to the GCL South, to the pit, right, and win that game, there's going to have to a lot of defense, right? We trust Cash Harney. He's an experienced quarterback, right? So he's exactly what type of player you want going into a hostile environment. But we will see. Again, that's a very interesting and fun matchup. Covcath going to Elder. Covcath looking to get their first win on the season, and Elder looking to move to 2-0 on the season. All right, Brandon, jumping right next to our next game, I should say, another ranked matchup, right? This game is separated. These 2 schools are just a couple miles away from each other, talking East Central and Harrison, right? Harrison coming in number 24 in our Blitz 5 top 25, and East Central coming in number 15. Both teams 1-0. East Central dominated Lawrenceburg yet again. because they have beaten them nonstop since 1993 to be exact. And then Harrison with a dominant win against Mount Healthy, 42-7, week 1. Both teams looking at 1-0. And again, this game is going to be played at East Central. Brandon, again, very close to each other. We're talking west side of Ohio, borderline of Indiana. Tell me about this game and what you're looking forward to.
Well, another interstate battle and, another big rivalry. Harrison, I believe, broke a 3 or 4 year losing streak against East Central last year. So they're trying to look to build some momentum and kind of rack up some wins in the rivalry themselves. For the Wildcat, I'm looking at wide receiver Adelsberger, 2 touchdown receptions last week, 88 yards. He's really a deep threat that can get behind the defense at will, and you kind of always got to keep a safety over the top or uh, keep that defensive back, maybe 5, 7 yards off to prevent him from going past you. And when I look at East Central, I'm looking at the running game. I'm looking at Ryan Mingus as a physical, experienced runner, and they've had several running backs over the years. They just churn him out, and he's the next in line. Had a great season last year, and a great week last week. 171 yards rushing and 3 TDs to start off the season. When I look at this game, I look at East Central just being the more physical team. And I think that's where this game will be kind of won up front, letting Mingus get into the linebackers and into the secondary. I got East Central, and I think this one could get away from Harrison if they're not careful.
Yeah, East Central, they're coached so well, right, with Coach Jake Miners. I mean, he's done such a good job over there in East Central. And as you mentioned, the running back play has been so good there for so many years. And they're always young, right? Ryan Mingus is still young. Remember, they had Josh Ringer, who was, Mr. Indiana football. They won a state championship just a couple of years ago. He was playing as a true freshman. And now Ryan Mingus also was playing, as an underclassman. They just, like you said, they churn him out. It's a good offensive line. It's a good defense. They're coached extremely well, right? Harrison, their big, play against Loveland, excuse me. I said Mount Healthy. Loveland earlier is what I should have said. It was 360-89. They outgained Loveland in week 1. Just absolutely dominated them on the ground. But like you said, this is a whole other battle, right? A top 15 team, East Central, looking to get back to the mountaintop after a good year last year. But when you did what they did in 2023, being as dominant as they were, winning the state championship game, losing a lot, right? They lost a lot from that championship team last year, growing pains, right? And now East Central really looks like, they're getting back to their old selves and really looking forward to the game. And I agree with you. I like Harrison. I think they're going to win a lot of games this year, but East Central seems to have kind of the one-up in this matchup, and I do look forward to them, and I think they will be going 2-0 at the end of Friday night. All right, Brandon, I want to move to the next game. We're going a conference matchup next, right? This has become a little bit of a rivalry over the past couple of years, right? Some really excellent games played between these two teams, and we are talking about the 5th-ranked Whitten Woods Warriors taking on number 15, if I'm not mistaken, Kings. Right, Whitten Woods versus Kings, another ranked matchup in the Blitz 5 top 25, getting ready for week 2, right? And kickoff is just under 48 hours away, so we're getting really close, excited for week 2. And Brandon, week 1, Whitten Woods took on Springfield for the 2nd consecutive year, and the defense dominated as they do. They forced 5 turnovers in that week 1 game against Springfield, turnovers everywhere, right? Offense was kind of hit or miss, right? Offense wasn't perfect, but we know that's kind of the theme with Whitten Woods. Defense is always great. Offense sometimes takes a little time, but Kings really well coached, right? Head coach Alex Garvin is universally respected around the tri-state area. What are you looking forward to in this matchup?
Well, a great ECC battle. And as you said, these two teams have had several close games in the regular season over the last couple of years. Both teams making state appearances. Wynwood's winning the state a few years ago. Kings, I believe, was the runner-up. And so this is a big time battle. When it comes to this game, I think the quarterback play is going to decide the winner of this. You got Bryshawn Brown, who's now an experienced starter for a couple years for Whitten Woods, and you got Grant Nuri on the other side for Kings. I think whoever plays the best or really avoids that big turnover, because a lot of these times these games are close field goal games, late turnover, late interception. Whoever can avoid that big mistake can come out with a win. And my X factor for Kings is running back Max Lockwood. I think he can have a good game in space, catch those little passes out the backfield, and possibly do some damage. But that Woods defense, as you said, very, very tough animal. I think they go on the road and still won out in Kings Mills on Friday.
Yeah, Wynton Woods is on a 2-game winning streak against Kings and 3-1 over their last 4 games. And as you mentioned, both of these teams are very used to being in the spotlight and competing for state championships. Wynton Woods won back in 2021. And then the very next year, Kings beats Wynton Woods in the playoffs and goes on to lose to Toledo Central Catholic in that Division II state championship game. And again, these games are real close. Both of these teams are really well coached. Head coach Chad Murphy does a great job over there at Wynton Woods. They got Division I players all over the field. Again, nothing new for Wynton Woods, one of those teams that reloads on defense. They're good every single year. But again, Kings is a team that's scrappy, right? They're going to be, a team that's never out of the game. Even if they're losing 21-0, that team is going to come back and make it 21-17, right? That's just the type of team Kings is, the culture, right, that Alex Garvin sets up there. And again, I expect this to be a very good game. One of the most interesting games, I think, the entire weekend. One of the biggest games in the entire ECC. Okay? And I want to stay, Brandon, in the ECC next, right? At a big weekend for this conference, because we have number 21, West Claremont, taking on number 4, Anderson, right? West Claremont coming in 1-0. Anderson also coming in 1-0. And Brandon, for my sake, the most impressive Week 1 game was the beatdown that Anderson gave to Cooper, right? That was an interstate matchup. Cooper was in the Class 4A state championship 2 years in a row. They come in and Anderson absolutely dominates that, right? There was so much to talk about. The Raptors had 530 total yards. They had 3 passing touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns, which is great to see from Anderson, right? Passing and rushing a well-balanced offense. Tell me what you think about this game. And West Claremont comes in a very dangerous team. Landon Young at running back. A lot to like about West Claremont as well.
Well, West Claremont has been a solid team since they came together as a school, kind of out of nowhere, so to speak, more than expected. As you mentioned, the running game is their key with Landon Young. I think about 234 yards rushing last week, I believe against Mount Healthy, and a big, big win over them. Unfortunately, I think that kind of plays into the hands of Anderson this week. The thing with Anderson for last year and so far this year, the defense has caught up with the offense. And guys like Brady Kuhn, Antoine Higgins at linebacker, they're really going to be able to snuff out some of those runs by Landon Young. And I think really put West Claremont in position to in 3rd and long where they don't want to be. And the Raptors also have a great secondary with many guys with Division I offers as well. On the offensive side of the ball, we know what Anderson is going to do. It's almost like if you can't get the 40, you might not have a chance. And because they're going to get the 40, 50, maybe more than that. And very impressed with Owen Scaff last week, stepping into the quarterback role for full time for the first time. Brilliant game. And they just pick up where they left off, man. And I think they'll do the same this week. I got Anderson big in this one.
Yeah, West Claremont, this is going to be a big learning experience for quarterback Colton Abner, right? We trust Landon Young, but this is a young junior quarterback. He only threw 7 passes in his first game. And as you mentioned perfectly, Anderson is going to come in to stop the run, right? Landon Young is going to be their top priority, and they're probably going to get in 3rd and longs. So again, this game, could get away from West Claremont, but I think we both agree that West Claremont is a very good up-and-coming team. Head coach Ben Mormon, he's done an awesome job over there, right? They've really come up over the past couple of years. But this Anderson team, Brandon, this team could go back to state. I mean, I know I'm not trying to overreact to week one, but they played a very quality opponent. They dominated. And like you said, the talent on offense, the talent on defense, quarterback Griffin Scoff. He is the brother of Owen Scoff, right, who was the quarterback just a couple years ago, right, slinging it around just like his brother, right, to both brothers, just slinging it around for Anderson. Again, a lot of offense, a lot of firepower. Any way you want them to beat you, they can. If you need Anderson to rush for 250, 270 yards and 3 touchdowns, they can do that. If you need them to throw for 300, 400 yards, they can do that, right? They're not a one-dimensional team. And on defense, they're outstanding. And again, Brandon, we'll talk more, of course, as the season goes on. But through week 2 and kind of what we're seeing, this team could be heading back to state or very close to it.
I agree. Definitely agree.
Absolutely. All right, so Brandon, before we get out of here, I do want to do some rapid fire picks from other games across the tri-state area, right? We talked about some big matchups heading in. I want to go some rapid fire picks. So how this is going to work is I'm going to give you a game, tell me who you think is going to win, right? And just basically a quick 10 to 15 seconds on why you think they're going to win and some quick thoughts about that team as well, all right?
All right.
All right, so first game I want to get to, I want to stay in Ohio for a second. Right, I want to talk about Centerville versus number 2 St. X. So St. X coming off a big win against Lakota West. Tell me about this St. X team against Centerville. Who you think wins and why?
I love the St. X defense. Jacoby Clapper, Braden Riley, of course, Daniel Vollmer. I think they just can cause havoc back there up front and in the secondary. St. X, too physical, too good.
Agreed completely. Daniel Vollmer playing free safety now. This is going to be one of the 5 or 10 best defenses in the entire tri-state area. Look for St. X to win this game big. Centerville took a big loss to Lakota East last week, and I think it could get even worse. St. X, state championship contender. All right, I want to go to the GMC, talking about the team that we just mentioned that St. Xavier beat last week. Number 3, Lakota West. They are going to be at home playing against Mason. What do you think about this game?
Well, I like the Firebirds, coming off a loss especially. They definitely don't want to go to 0-2. They've been kind of running the GMC for the most part since Tom Bolin has been there. And I think just too big of a game for Mason coming off of a tough loss to Springboro, Lakota West, probably by a big margin.
I agree. Lakota West wins this game at home. Jackson Smith's a young quarterback. Lakota West is going to continue to get better on offense. We know how this goes, right? The offense is always a little bit slower at the beginning, but their defense is still incredible, and it was incredible against St. X as well. They only gave up 14 points, right? So this is still a very good defense. Expect Lakota West to win big, getting their first win of the season. Okay, I want to hit another GMC game. Number 7 Princeton going to Colerain. Right, because week 1 was a big surprise. LaSalle took on Colerain, right? And for Princeton, actually, both of these teams, both of them were beat pretty handily. Number 1 Bowler defeated Princeton 41-20, and LaSalle dominated Colerain by a score of 42-0. So, Brandon, both of these teams taking a long look in the mirror after week 1. What happens in this game?
Well, I like Princeton. Colerain in a bit of a tough position, transitional period once again. Really big fan of Princeton tight end Landon Myrie. I think he's a matchup nightmare over the middle. Can spread him out wide as a wide receiver. Too much speed, athleticism. Princeton gets their first win of the season.
It can't be much worse for Princeton, right? 7 turnovers. Right. I mean, they absolutely, just cannot get worse than that. And granted, they played Moeller, but again, I think Princeton really cleans the ball up. They turn the ball over less. Actually, my assumption is they don't turn the ball over at all in this game. I think they play a very clean game. They run the ball. Andre Parker is a great head coach. He's been doing it for so long. I like Jordan Stevens at Colerain. I like the culture that he is trying to set. But again, there's going to be some growing pains. So I think Princeton does win. I do think Princeton wins this game big as well. All right, I want to hit one more GMC game, my man Brandon. It is number 12 Lakota East, right? John Kitna's football team taking on Oak Hills, and this game is going to be at Lakota East. And we saw a historic performance last week from Lakota East running back Ryder Hooks, right? He had 353 rushing yards and multiple touchdowns. Tell me about this Lakota East team, and you think they take care of business this week?
Well, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. I like the East guys up front. Hooks, he was very talkative about his offensive line last week and how they're just moving bodies and letting him do work. I see much of the same this week. Oak Hills, good team, new coach, but I think Hooks he'll be a little too much to handle. I'll take Lakota East by 10 or 13 in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Lakota East wins this game. It's the transition period for John Kitna, right? His son, JT Kitna, was the quarterback for multiple years as, head coach John got under the regime. And now with his son being gone, I think there's a transition period and you have somebody you can rely on, right? Ryder Hooks is a guy that you give the ball to 20, 25 times. And like he did in week one, he can go get you 250 to 300 yards. Right. I think Lakota East continues to run the ball, and I think they do win the game, and they'll move on to 2-0 on the season. And I want to get to a couple of Northern Kentucky games before we get out of here. Let's talk about Connor versus number 8 Ryle. Right. So Connor, as we know, playing with some heavy hearts this year. Right. As head coach Dave Strasburg passed away a couple months ago. Our hearts, condolences always with Connor and their high school. So a lot of, tumultuous times for Connor, but again, that's a resilient program. That's a resilient bunch of kids. And they're taking on Ryle, right, who had a big loss as well. Excuse me, they had a big win against Covington Catholic earlier. Cath lost. So tell me what you see in this game. Is this a way for Connor to maybe bounce back or at least play some better football?
Well, the kids at Connor definitely, our hearts go out to them. They give it all they got, and just a tough situation. And this is a tough matchup for them. Ryle coming off that state championship appearance. Jacob Savage, man, he's a bear, both sides of the ball. And similar to Lakota East, I think we get a lot of running out of Jacob Savage this week and Ryle, and I see them getting a win over Connor.
Absolutely. Yeah, again, I think Connor, they're going to continue to get better as the season goes on, right? They're going through a lot right now. But Ryle, they're a very good team. I expect them to win a lot of their games, most of their games, right? We know they can run the ball, they can pass the ball. They're experienced at the right positions. So, yes, I do think Ryle wins this game. I want to hit one more NKY game, Brandon, because it actually is a top 15 matchup, a top 12 matchup, actually, right? We're talking number 9 Highlands going to number 11 Cooper, right? Highlands had a big win in week 1, if I'm not mistaken. I think they did win week 1. Yeah. I don't have it in front of me. Yeah. And Cooper obviously was the one that suffered that big loss against Anderson, right? They went up interstate, had a big loss. Cooper probably took a long look in the mirror. Highlands is feeling good about themselves. I think this could be one of the sneaky, maybe not even sneaky because it's a top 12 matchup, but one of the really, interesting and entertaining games of the weekend.
Yeah, and for Highlands, very big game, get out to a 2-0 start. They've been a little under the radar the last couple years in Northern Kentucky, from their history. Some teams kind of passing them by, I guess you could say. So I think they're really trying to get back on the map. I think, what are they, 7, 11, 12, 13 time state champions, something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I think they want to kind of get back to that, Bluebird type of football, and Cooper, on the other hand, they got to bounce back. I like Keegan Maher, obviously Cam O'Hara. I'm going to go Cooper sneaking one out at home.
Absolutely. This is a toss-up. This truly could go either way. This is one of the biggest toss-ups, I think, of the entire weekend. Cooper having the loss, right? Again, you don't want to lose like that the way they did to Anderson, but I think it could be a blessing in disguise, right? You make it to the state championship 2 games in a row, or 2 years in a row, I should say, and then it was a very humbling experience going against Anderson. So they're going to play with a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder this week. So again, I expect it to be very close, but again, I do think Cooper wins this game. But again, that's as much of a toss-up as you get. All right, Brandon, before we get out of here, anything else you're looking forward to in week 2? We know there's a lot of transition, right? From week 1 to week 2. Week 1, you're exposing your team. You're really finding out who you are, right? No more scrimmages, right? We're playing regular season football, meaningful football. It's going to be interesting to see kind of the week 1 to week 2 transitions. Anything else you're looking for, or anything surprising or something you're interested in week 2?
Well, I always like to see how the teams who come out and lost their first game, how they respond. And I'm looking at the Hamiltons out there, teams of that nature. Also, I'm very curious about the Middletown Middies. Nice date with Fairfield coming up on Friday. Their quarterback, Ward, had a great week one, 16 to 16 passing, also over 100 yards rushing. He's being tutored and coached by Jalen Marshall, the former Middletown great, and he's looking like he can really be one of those players that we didn't know about before the season, and he can really blow up. So I'm looking for those two teams in Butler County to see what they do this week.
Absolutely. Again, teams that won in week one, lost in week one, again, rebounding. And over the next couple of weeks, we'll start maybe seeing some teams kind of separate themselves, right? Maybe the St. Nexus of the world, right? We'll start seeing Lakota West really get on the schneid. Again, so much to look forward to in week two. And remember, you can get all the scores and updates at TriStateFootball.com on Friday night. And we also have that Moeller, again, is playing on Saturday again against Mount Carmel. So be sure to check in on Saturday as well, right? We hope everyone has a fun Labor Day weekend. Make sure to check out the audio version of what we're doing right here on wherever you get your podcast, right? Just type in TriStateFootball.com, the podcast. And Brandon and I will be right back next week to talk about week 3 and also do a quick reflection of week 2. Again, we thank everyone for joining us. Follow us on social media at TS Football on Twitter and Instagram. And again, for Brandon Lampley, I'm Safwan Alvi. Thank you so much for following us. And thank you for listening to the TSF Game Plan Show.